As the hours counted down for the inauguration of Donald Trump for his second term, the news broke that outgoing President Biden had done the absolute dumbest thing, in my view. That is, issuing preemptive pardons for people thought possibly to be in the crosshairs of the incoming administration, specifically Dr. Anthony Fauci, Liz Cheney, and former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Mark Milley. It's something that Biden had been pondering out loud whether he should do, and every time it was mentioned he was thinking about it, I was thinking, don't do it. But I'm sorry to say, I think it's typical of his track record of decision-making that he landed where he did. Now, let's be clear, I have personally seen a lot of unhinged stuff from Trump supporters over the years in relation to Anthony Fauci, accusing him of all sorts of stuff that was just fantastical. If it was simply about the fact Fauci had become a hate figure to some because of his prominence and how people had reacted to the COVID pandemic, the answer would still have been not to preemptively pardon him, but to say instead, fine, you have to prove a sensible, well-evidenced case in court. Good luck with that. The White House statement today made the expected disclaimer. The issuance of these pardons should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement that any individual engaged in any wrongdoing, nor should acceptance be misconstrued as an admission of guilt for any offence. Well, of course it's going to be taken that way. It was obviously going to be taken that way. How politically imbecilic do you have to be to think that pardoning somebody isn't going to sound, to the majority of people, not just the MAGA true believers, that there must be some guilt that has to be protected from? Now, there's another take, which is that even if you wave aside with contempt all the conspiracy nonsense around Fauci, there is still a non-trivial case that he was not truthful, for instance, to the Senate committee hearings, when he claimed that the NIH had not funded gain-of-function research. His answers on that point were evasive, legalistic, technical, arguably self-serving. Maybe that could be wrong, but it is a genuine point of substance and accountability, one that shouldn't really be waved lightly aside just because of its proximity to some of the more unhinged content. It is not a mere point of detail, it's fundamental to questions of agency accountability in the course of a major crisis moment in American history. So, should it be considered that in reviewing all of the evidence, it was thought there was enough to make a case that could stand up in court? Arguably, that possibility should not be artificially ruled out, because on what grounds? The White House said in its statement, "These public servants have served our nation with honour and distinction and do not deserve to be the targets of unjustified and politically motivated prosecutions." I think that's likely to be true based on the information available to me at the moment. But exactly why they also don't deserve to be highlighted as likely guilty of something requiring President Biden to give them a pardon? Look, in 2016, Trump got elected to the sounds of "lock her up" when it came to Hillary Clinton. He then went on to do no such thing. The speculation is that this time, given that Democrats did actually try to lock him up, he would be more inclined to go after his enemies. Well, he still has to make that call, and he would still have to come up with some semblance of a case that could possibly stand up in court. What Biden has done is to relieve Trump of the moral responsibility of that choice and to proactively paint Fauci and Milley and Cheney as probably guilty, regardless, in the eyes of the American people. So from now on, Trump will be able to say without consequence that they were guilty, but the only thing that stopped it being proven in court was Biden's preempted pardon, rather than it being shown in court, whether or not there was the slightest scrap of evidence or not. Honestly, if I had been one of those people, I would have refused the offer of any such pardon because it does the recipients no favours and it does them no honour. Is it any worse, you might ask, than Trump's intended pardoning of January the 6th rioters? Well, that is different. Biden pardoned a bunch of convicted criminals of various flavours, those pardons are comparable to Trump's intended pardons. People who have committed crimes who get pardoned after the event. These are different. They're not bad because the individuals targeted are likely guilty, but because they're likely innocent, and that will now forever be in doubt. No doubt there will be little discussion of this as the inauguration is about to kick off, which will give everyone something to talk about. Trump will then be signing these hundreds of day one executive orders, which will give people a lot more to talk about. But I wanted to register one small protest before we had all of that to deal with. Do you agree with my take? Do you disagree with it? Let me know in the comments below.